Well, good evening, everyone. Michael, soothing here. I think what I'm going to do today, as I have done quite a few times before, is talk about what's going on with some of the paper. Newspaper. I've had this one for a while, but I haven't had a chance to read it. So I get the free paper when I go play poker at the local casino, the poker tournaments. I was going to give you an update since I've been gone a while on how I did in the bigger poker tournament series up the Oregon coast. And I did well, as it turned out. I flamed out in the first event I played in, No Limit Hold'em. I made it to about level 16, but that wasn't far enough to get into the money. So, is that how far I went? No, it was level 13, sorry. And so, but it was fun to play in. But then I played in a specialized tournament called Omaha High-Low Split. Omaha, I did a video on that poker game before on my channel. And instead of 2 cards in your hand, you get 4 cards in your hand. And there's 5 up cards on the board at the end. And you pick 2 from your hand and 3 from the board to make your hand. But you can go in 2 directions or both ways. You can try for a low hand, the best low being ace, deuce, 3, 4, 5, or you can go for a high hand, making the best high hand possible. Given the 4 from your hand, I have a card deck right here to help show you what I'm talking about. So a great starting hand in Omaha, for example, would be ace, ace, deuce, 3. Because, for example, if the board ends up having, say, 3 low cards below an 8, like 5, 6, 7 on the board, then you can take an ace, deuce, 2 from your hand and have the best possible low, okay? That will split the pot with whoever makes the high hand. This would be a great starting hand because it can go high or low. You've got 2 aces. You've got a deuce and a 3, and you've got one of the aces has a heart with it, so it could make a flush, possibly. That would be a great starting hand. I won't go into all the details of Omaha right now. Another great hand in this game would be 4 high cards, like, say, ace, ace, king, queen. You see that the ace queen is also suited to make a possible flush. This would be a great high starting hand, right? So anyway, I played that specialized game because I played a lot of Omaha in the past when I was younger. And I figured correctly, as it turns out, I'd have a good chance in Omaha tournament because many Hold'em players would be overvaluing and overplaying their hand, and that's what they did. Especially the younger players played too aggressively, and that's easy to exploit if you know how to play Omaha. So we had 136 entrants in the Omaha tournament, and it turns out I came in first in that one. That was good for $4,100. and it was only like $140 buy-in. So I consider that a very nice success. But the tournament went on for 14 straight hours, so it was a little bit tiring. We started at 1 in the afternoon and got done at 3:30 a.m., at which time I made a deal with, when we were heads up, just 2 of us left. Out of the 136, it was so late, I had a slight chip lead, and my opponent was a good Omaha player. So he proposed a split of first and second place prize money, which had a total of 8,200 and something, and I agreed to the split. He said, you can be first place because you have a chip lead, and I did have a small chip lead at that point. So we split the prize money, and I took the first prize spot. So I really enjoyed that. But then we had to drive 2 hours home on a road that was all ice because it had rained in the day and all the water had frozen. It was a scary trip home, but we made it. So enough about the update on that. I had a lot of other things going on the last couple of weeks, so I've been absent. I'm going to have one of these sugar-free candies. Joanne says she's going to stop eating sugar altogether. That will be tricky for her because she does so many mukbang ASMR with candies. But anyway, let me catch up on old news. It's cold here, but for most of you in the country, it's a lot colder because there's a massive cold front dropping temperatures to -20 and -30 up in the northeast states, and that cold front's going all the way down to Texas. Global warming once again. Snowstorm wallops region. Even here on the West Coast, we had a bunch of snow that we didn't expect. So we never get snow here. And you folks in the northern states would think, what wusses, man? Closing schools and businesses just because of a little snow, right? Because we're not used to it. Look here. The legacy of the new Carissa. I'll show you. It was a ship that grounded itself on the Oregon coast a long time ago. 20 years ago. The beached ship was an eyesore that just wouldn't leave the Oregon coast. It says, the saga of, I don't know why they're raising it back as a story now, but the saga of the new Carissa began 20 years ago this month when the huge wood chip hauler ran aground a couple miles north of Coos Bay. A torpedo sent the bulk of the freighter down nearly 11,000 feet into the Pacific Ocean, far offshore. About 5 weeks later, in March 1999, they hauled half the ship out to sea because it didn't want to sink since it had watertight compartments all the way up. And then they sunk it with a torpedo. But the other half, the stern of the ship, lingered on the Oregon coast until 2008, when marine salvage experts finally plucked it apart. I guess for the metal, scrap metal, right? It was just totally out of place. All that iron on the sand was kind of a bad feeling. What happened with it? This is about the time of year when we get the big storms. A storm had pushed it onto the coast and beached it on a sandbar. So, it's like old news they resurrected. Must have been a slow news day. Let's see what else is in this paper. Prosecutors probe the National Enquirer. Family healing. This doesn't look like the right newspaper. It's an older one, and I thought I had a brand new newspaper to read. Maybe it's at the other house. A rancher in southern Oregon successfully deters wolves with an inflatable dancing man. This is a cartoon, but I think it's based on an actual tactic that a rancher used. You know, the wolves were afraid that a used car salesman was going to come to them and start trying to selling them a used car. That would deter any pest, whether it was a wolf or a bear or anything like that, right? So I think maybe if you're worried about varmints coming around like rats or raccoons or wolves or anything, you could put up some of those little colored flags, you know, or maybe you could put a big sign in the yard and say, please come and attend my insurance sales seminar, and that would deter all creatures from getting anywhere within 1,000 yards of your house. Look what a mess it is. Was in the streets of Olympia, which was the same in Eugene. But most of you are saying, Eugene, Oregon. But most of you are saying, it's like that all the time up here in upstate New York, or wherever you live. What's wrong with you spoiled West Coasters? All right. Pot export bill gets a hearing. You know, the legalized pot here in Oregon. They're trying to illegally export it all the time. Excuse me, my voice is still recovering from a bad cold I had last week. I might have to whisper through the rest of this video. One reason I didn't make videos for a couple of weeks is this bad cold. I think I got it when I played the poker tournament. You know, you're handling cards that other people touch and stuff. And chips as well. I'm a little OCD about germs, and so that's the downside of poker. I think I have to carry one of those little bottles that Joanne has of what's that stuff? Antibacterial stuff, you know, lotion, goo. It kills all the germs. Anyway, A bill would create the possibility of Oregon exporting marijuana to adjacent states where cannabis is also legal. If it's legal in adjacent state, because it grows better here. Everything grows like a weed, no pun intended, on the Oregon coast. It would open marijuana commerce between Oregon, California, Nevada, and Washington, the 3 states where it is legal. I was watching a Netflix documentary on Humboldt County, California, the missing person capital county of the state, because it's been the marijuana capital for decades there. And when people wander into the wrong place at the wrong time, they just vanish, poof, as if into a black hole. So it's scary there. And it feels scary there. Big redwood-covered mountains with hidden marijuana plots everywhere and guys with guns hiding in the weeds. So, anyway, this documentary was interesting. But one of the things that you find out is those who made hundreds of thousands in the marijuana biz there illegally, they're now trying to legalize, now that the state legalized it, and they're all going broke. So legalization actually worked a lot against them, and they're unhappy about it because they got to spend like $100,000 on a permit, and now they got to compete with all the legal pot farms. And now that it's legal everywhere in the area, it's like demand is down, because pot smoking no longer has the allure of, being a bad guy, getting away with something. So the teenagers are going to abandon it even. Ex-teacher sentenced for sex with a student. Uh-oh. You're not supposed to do that with your students. It's an abuse of power. Let's see what it says. A former Springfield teacher has been sentenced to less than 2 years in prison. Must be a woman. Following her conviction, a woman, last month for having sex with a student. Andrea Baber. I shouldn't name names, so I won't tell you her name is Andrea Baber, pleaded guilty through a plea deal with the Douglas County District Attorney to 6 counts of contributing to the delinquency of a minor and 3 counts of third-degree statutory rape. See, there's no such thing as consent if someone's under 18. Friday, Andrea Baber, 30 years old, was given concurrent sentences, meaning they will be served at the same time. Less than 2 years. I think if it was a guy and a young female student, there might be a bigger penalty. But maybe the student showed up and said, I don't object to what happened. In fact, I would like a lot more of the same, and so that might have lightened her sentence. If he said, I don't want to say that anything happened that damaged my psyche. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Lawmakers weigh vaccine bill amid measles outbreak. Vaccine bill. Measles outbreak. Amid a measles outbreak that has sickened more than 50 people in the Pacific Northwest, lawmakers in Washington heard testimony Friday on a bill that would remove parental ability to claim an exemption to opt their school-age children out of the combined measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. Hundreds of people opposed to the measure lined up for more than an hour, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I'll give you my opinion. I believe that vaccination in school should be mandatory for those diseases because it has saved literally hundreds of thousands of lives of students and prevented all kinds of complications from some of those diseases like blindness and loss of hearing and other things. Yes, I know. Some of you are going to say it's all a big government plot. But science is science, and the fact is we had terrible epidemics in this country of these diseases back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s that wiped out and or crippled for life, polio, all the things that you get vaccinated against. And the vaccines work. So even though there may be, whooping cough, you name it, yes, there may be a downside to a very small subset of the population, but the upside of these vaccines is huge by comparison. So it makes no sense to say, and all the big studies show that these links with autism and so forth are utter nonsense. So I've looked at some of those studies, being I have a child with autism. I've looked carefully at the studies to see if there's really a link, but there just isn't. So anyway, that's one person's opinion. That's not to say that I like the idea of the government forcing an inoculation on anyone. But it's kind of like child abuse to put your kid at risk for all these terrible diseases that can be prevented, some of which are starting to make a comeback, like whooping cough, for example. I had the measles when I was young, and it was terrible. I remember it still to this day. I think it damaged me permanently. But anyway, that was before hard measles vaccination was around. Now kids don't have to suffer through that. And it can cause terrible damage to your body even if you survive. But if you have a weak immune system, you can die from it, like the plague. Look at the front of this paper, it says, Better Head for Jerry's Bath and Kitchen. See our 16-page ad inside. Is there a Jerry's ad in here? Don't want to talk about diseases and vaccines. Some of you are going to say, yeah, but it's a big government plot to fill us with weird stuff. And, okay. I'm just telling you, I've looked at the information on it already carefully. This is like the plot that I see about the flat earth, which I'm going to do a video on soon. The flat earthers say, oh, there's a massive government plot to make us all believe the earth is a globe. And do you know that flat earthism is spreading now like wildfire? It's like a new cult. That's why I'm going to make a video on it. In fact, the Flat Earth Society now has members all over the globe, by the way, just so you know. Okay. All around the globe are people who believe in the flat earth these days. It said we were going to head for Jerry's. Here's the Jerry's flyer. I found it. It's nice and colorful. You can get a cadet commode here. See? Cadet commode for only $119. What a bargain. Maybe we could put one or two in the living room at that price. There's vanities. No, not the vanity of politicians. These kinds of vanities, okay? Yeah, I know there's politicians that have a lot of vanity these days. These are called bath vanities. I need some paint, and it looks like Jerry's has some. I'm going to have to do some painting this spring and summer. I have to do some touch-up on the other house I'm going to sell. I don't like having two houses in it. When I get this one fixed properly, then I'm going to sell the other one. So I won't have to be so poor anymore, supporting two houses. Okay. It's all kitchen and bath stuff. Continental cabinets. I'd like new cabinets, but I don't know what it would cost to put new ones in. I'll put that on hold for now. What else we got here? In the paper. The Ducks are at home. The Ducks is our college team, the Oregon Ducks. This is the sports page. NASCAR just started up again. I've made videos about NASCAR racing in the past, and some people liked those videos. If you're a NASCAR fan, I would like you to give me your impression of the new car setup that they came up with this year that's totally different. Here's my impression. It makes the races a total bore, and if they don't change it, I might stop watching. Okay? So it just seems like there's not a lot of passing, and I'm gonna give it a chance, and keep watching for a while, but so far it seems like the Atlanta race and the Las Vegas race were pretty darn boring. They ran Las Vegas yesterday. Savor the sights, sounds, and flavors of Asia, it says here. What are the sights and sounds and flavors of Asia? The Oregon Asian celebration highlights the rich, diverse cultures from India to Indonesia, from the Philippines to Japan. I better tell Joanne about this, since she's proudly Filipino. Unlike other festivals, oops, this one passed already. I guess I'm too late. Uh-oh. I guess that won't work. I won't tell her that we missed the big celebration. what she doesn't know won't hurt her, right? What was that girl band name in the 80s that had that song? What you don't know might hurt you. Let's see, The Joy of the Junk Drawer. Netflix's Tidying Up series prompts questions of why we fill our spaces. They show a junk drawer here, but I can tell you, their junk drawer has nothing on mine. I think I might have 3 or 4 junk drawers filled with stuff. It's so hard to not accumulate it. Even if you never buy anything, your junk drawers fill up with stuff. It's a strange phenomenon. I have bins full of stuff, too, storage bins, and they filled up by themselves without me ever putting anything in them. I don't know how that's possible. Here's something about maple trees, but it's in black and white, so I feel deprived. I want to see the color of it. Some maples are to love, it says. That would be sugar maples, and others not. That would be Norway maples, because they are an invasive species. I'm not too keen on invasive species, but there's more to maples than those two, including some you might like or dislike, depending on where they are growing. And it goes on to talk about maple wood and good maple, red maples, the autumn foliage, it says. The color of red maple foliage rivals and complements that of the sugar maple. This tree is deservedly popular, so much so that superior varieties have been identified and named with some upright form. I'm getting a little bit bored now with them. Let's go to the junk drawer article and see what it says. The Netflix series. My husband was dutifully folding an undershirt into a neat origami square. Does this look right? He asked, holding up the painfully attractive white bundle as soothing music from a YouTube demonstration video filled the room. YouTube is so popular. By the way, did you notice, if you watched the Super Bowl this last year, that there was clearly an ASMR commercial in it where the girl did a whole bunch of ASMR stuff? Did I talk about this in my last video? Rings a bell. Anyway, I think I did, so I'll be quiet now. Dance and song is a part of the Asian celebration. The Filipinos have some Indonesian and Pacific Islander heritage in the mixture of their genetic background and cultural. You can see it in the Filipino language. And so I asked Joanne sometime to do some of that dancing, like hukilau dancing. And she made a video with a drum beat, and it was kind of cool, and did that dancing for me. It's on her channel someplace, but you'd have to go way back to find it, I think. Real estate page, that would bore you. So we won't talk about that. Although you might like being bored just a little bit. Trust the experts, it says. And some homes in Eugene. Is that Eugene area? Berkshire Hathaway. Some homes in the 250,000 to 500,000 range, or 350 range. They're still affordable in the Willamette Valley. I think I'm going to wrap this up now. I think my next video is going to be something about Bitcoin. I have a thing or two to say about Bitcoin, and I'll, look at some change or something as a pleasing sound while I talk about it. I think I'm going to do a bit of a rant about Bitcoin based on things I have learned about it and my own experience, which I will share with you. No, I didn't lose money in it. That's not what my rant will be about. In fact, I invested in Bitcoin in the year 2016 and then sold it in the year 2017 for a nice profit. But that's beside the point, because it was a stupid, I will repeat, stupid investment, so-called investment. And I'll explain to you why I'm not a Bitcoin fanboy. All right, anyway, until then, until next video, soon I will make a flat earth video also for your viewing, amusement, and enjoyment, and hopefully relaxation, pleasure. Take care, everyone. Bye for now. Do not ASMR and drive. Bye-bye.